And we are back on Professional Wrestling, the podcast. As promised, we swung it back for yet another week. It is professional wrestler Mason Rush. He's back on the podcast. Mason, how you doing, buddy?
Fantastic. How are you?
Very, very good. I gotta say, you're sporting the merch today.
Oh yeah, I brought you a special shirt today.
Well,
so we could be matchies.
So, as we're twinsies today, before we jump into today's topic, because we're talking about your debut, but before you debuted as Mason Rush, the wrestler, I debuted as the chosen lawyer.
Correct. Yeah.
And part of my branding, my image would not exist if not for you, sir. So I would like to say a big thank you, because
my pleasure.
There was a picture out there of me flexing.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine had taken it. One time I had just finished a workout with you. I'd come over to have lunch with him. And as we're about to eat, he says to me, "Hold on, I need you to flex right now." And I start to flex. He goes, "You got the perfect pump." And he took a couple shots for me, and then he sent it over to me. I posted on Instagram because every week I was just doing the posing. That was my thing. And lo and behold, as I go to do a bodybuilding show, the chosen lawyer is doing it. He's not going to be a boxer. He's going to go and do fitness competition. And right beforehand, part of the team sets up and decides that's the pose, that's the picture, and decides to put it on a shirt. And that was you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm doing a public acknowledgement now. This is the man that was responsible. Wow. You love or hate those shirts of me flexing. It was his idea to put them on a t-shirt.
Yeah, and that comes from years of making my own gym t-shirts, right? And having the shirt guy and the printing guy and the graphics girl, and to put it all together to make an awesome shirt. Because the original one was for your bodybuilding competition.
Absolutely.
It was the original OG TM shirt.
Remember that one with the sponsors on the back,
the sponsors,
everything?
We had, that was the original shirt, and then that great logo was then used for all the enterprise of chosenness.
It became the Chosen Enterprises, and it comes on everything, and became the Chosen Life podcast, and then the symbol of it. There became a Chosen Lawyer theme song, a professional music producer who just launched, by the way, a new album. He's now a pianist. He was always a pianist, but he launched going from rock music to piano music, and the last thing he worked on before he decided to venture off and do that was he helped create the Chosen Lawyer theme song.
Wow.
The photo cover is the
so
flex.
Your Chosen Lawyer theme song sent that guy into retirement.
Well, he was in transition regardless, but in deciding what he wanted to do, he loved working. I think he loved working on the theme song so much.
Say he wanted to, after that, he was there, there's nothing I could do better than this theme song. I'm going to switch genres.
Whatever it was.
That was it. Can't top it.
But, you know, the shirt worked great when we were among the team and everything else. And a couple of times I wore it to work. I work as a real estate corporate lawyer, and I'm at the office as a lawyer. I'm still meeting people in person at this point, by the way. This is long before COVID. And people said, "Wow, I really like that shirt. You know, that's pretty cool." And I'm like, hey, that could make a great mug too. And it just started ballooning, and now I own about 40 of these shirts in different colors. And pretty much almost every day I wear a shirt of myself. And
me too.
It inspires people to say, hey, we talked about last week, you don't always be born into that. I certainly was not born into my physique, and I was scrawny, and then I became the big, large guy, and I chose my fitness path. That shirt reminds me every day, and that chose my path. So thank you for being part of my journey as you continue to be.
Yeah.
And now it is such a pleasure. You on my journey, now I'm part of your journey.
Yeah.
And that leads us into today's topic, because I was there. I was barely walking at that point.
Yes. Yeah.
I had an injured foot.
Made it anyway.
I go to train with you, and then the next day I show up at your debut. I'm hobbling along, but I ain't missing my favorite and only wrestling client. As he made his debut, it was Hamilton Pro Wrestling, Saturday, July 8th, 2023. School's out 4, and you were part of the big Royal Rumble.
Yeah, that was what a night! What a night! The wrestling world is funny, man. You start out, you train your ass off, you take your bumps, you get hurt, you come back, you show coach that you're strong. But really, once you only start getting these opportunities when you pay your dues. And that came for me in the form of helping out with a big wrestling event. And I would ask, I'd say, Coach, when can I debut? When can I debut? And it was always kind of when you're ready and when that'll be. And there was never a time or a date. It's just whenever it happens, it happens. But ironically, after we finished setting up an entire wrestling event, he looked at me and said, I think we can set you up for your debut at the Royal Rumble. How do you feel about that? And I was like, finally, my man, right? Like, I've been waiting a long time, and I was also very excited because if you remember, when I first started wrestling over a year ago, what was our goal? It was, I would love to debut in a Rumble, right? Give me a time to shine where I don't have to carry a match. I don't have to, risk making mistakes. It's just, you're in, you do your business, you try to win, and if you don't, you're out and you move on to the next show, and you grow and you learn from that experience. Because the part that I was the most nervous for, if you will, was the walkout, was everything I had practiced and built and developed, right? I didn't copy anyone's theme. I didn't steal. I had to come up with something and believe that when I did it for the first time in front of a crowd, they were going to love it. And according to a lot of people, they did.
Look, I know you. I spent time with you. I know what you look like, but it's funny. I'm sitting there in the crowd, and I'm watching match after match after match, and I'm looking at
we were the co-main event. We were match 7 of 8.
So you're almost near the end here, right? And so I'm sitting right by the ramp. So I'm watching people walk the ramp, make their entrance. So I'm watching this the whole night, and all I could think about was, how is Mason going to look compared to these other wrestlers? How's his physique going to look? How's his walkout going to look? And I'll be honest, I was nervous. I was like, I just don't know, because man, these guys look huge. Like, is he that big? How's he gonna be? And I'm just waiting to see the crowd reaction too. Yeah. And we're thinking, there's been a lot of heels going. People are booing the heck out of these guys. They love heckling in Hamilton. It's not an easy town. So you and I both figure, hey, you're gonna be the main heel here. Yeah. People are absolutely gonna loathe you. You came out, you had your entrance down to a T. You executed to perfection. And it looked freaking stunning out there, except we didn't see that reaction coming, not one iota, not even 1% chance of it. The crowd freaking went bananas. Tell me about the feeling of being, because you never told me this before, when you're coming through the curtains and you're executing your entrance before you do the walk, and then you do the walk, how are you feeding off the crowd energy? What was that like?
Well, I mean, so I've got years of competition experience, right? So I competed in CrossFit at a very high level for 10 years. So when it comes to competition, I understand the dynamic. You show up, you got your routine, but this was all new. This was totally new. I'd never been to the location. I'd never been in the parking lot. I didn't know how to walk, which door to go through. So when I got there, that was the most nervous part for me, was finding my bearings, finding my routine. Mm-hmm. So I walked in, and everyone, are you Mason Rush? And yeah, I am. Where do I go? Through this door? Yeah, locker room's down here, right? You walk into the locker room, all the other wrestlers, big, strong, confident guys getting ready, warming up, doing all their, pre-wrestling routine. And I don't have one. My pre-wrestling routine is my pre-CrossFit competition routine, which thankfully worked very well, right? So I prepared for my wrestling event the way I would have for a CrossFit competition. I brought my peanut butter and jam sandwiches, right? So it digests really quick. I had my fruit bowl, I had all that stuff ready to go. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting in a corner by myself in the locker room, random guy that doesn't train with the team, right? I do privates with Coach Rip. Most of the team trains together. They meet at Hamilton Pro Wrestling on Saturdays, Tuesdays, whatever night they train, and that's what they do. So they all know each other. They've wrestled for years, 4, 5, 6 years, some of them 10 years, some of them. So I'm just the new guy, but I've been the new guy before. I'm used to being the new guy. And I also know that my coach has talked about me, so people do know who I am, right? People are expecting to meet me, and when I walk in, that must be the new guy. So yeah, I didn't really get much attention from anybody. None of the competitors, none of the champions really came by. They were all nice, hey, I'm so-and-so, but in this world, you got to earn respect. It's not given to you, right? Love is given to you. Trust and respect are earned. And throughout the course of the night, People saw me warming up. They saw me doing my rolls, my 90-90s, my wrist mobility, my shoulder mobility. And they were not really as knowledgeable in that stuff. So right away, that guy's a little different, right? He knows what he's doing, but he's never done this before, right? And that's, again, like I said, bodybuilding, acting, fighting. You're taking skills you've learned along the way and packaging them up to create what I now call a wrestler. And because we were the 7th of 8 matches, I had to kill 5 hours, right? You're not allowed to go out. You're in character. You're ready to go. And I didn't know what to. Luckily, I prepared the food. But you're watching the wrestlers do their matches, come back. Some are hurt, some are bleeding, some are, everybody's in different shape. And I'm still waiting to go do my match. So eventually, we get to the Royal Rumble part, and we get our order. We know what time we're going out. And it was getting my new gear, which I had never really worn before. I had never shown myself in short shorts to a group of people before, but just like my pose, just like everything else, I knew I was going to kill it, right? The wrestlers, once I took off my shirt, once I started kind of getting a little bit more in the zone, were started to turn heads a little bit. That led to me walking out. When I walked up there, nobody knew my music, nobody knew my name, nobody knew anything. But I'll tell you something, after that debut, I left and everyone knew Mason Rush, right? It was from a nobody to a future champion in one night. And now, through social media, we're starting to get the respect that's deserved. But that first night, it was, if you're not confident, if you're not ready, you're not going to make it, because there's no one holding your hand, walking you up to that stage through the road. You're on your own, pal. This is how you pose. No. What did you practice? You go do it, and that's why the debut was as successful as it was because I worked hard. I practiced every aspect of that, except for the match itself, where I did as best as I could, and Marcus Gold knocked me out. But you win some, you lose some.
We'll get to him.
But in terms of everything I can control, confidence, the preparation, the posing, we nailed it.
I gotta say again, you watch the video footage of it and you hear the commentators. There was a girl right on the ramp
Shout out
there.
Kevin the intern.
Kevin the intern, and right away a girl tried to imitate your pose.
That was probably the coolest part of the whole experience, is when I got the video of my walkout, and someone who had never seen me before, I had never seen me before. So how was it, right? So, and she started copying my pose and jaw drop, and that's what makes you excited for the next one, is the feeling that crowd gives you, which I've never had before.
So I was in that crowd, and it was a loud crowd. It was a rough crowd. Like, they were ready. They were on it. They're good wrestling fans in Hamilton, but they are on you. When you came out, I heard all around me, they're like, what the heck is this guy? Holy crap, look at his physique. Whoa, did he just jump? Did he just do that? Like, they were
suplex into running bulldog, they were double takedown. Yeah, it was a great debut. I can't really complain much about it.
Like, Brock Lesnar comes into a Royal Rumble and just starts emptying the house and everything. That was the kind of pop you were getting. Like, they were just blown away.
It felt great. It was I stood out. I put on a show.
And that's where I got to tell you, you talk about the idea of paying dues, and that's one of the things I'll tell people in all your walks of life. There's very little you can do in life unless you pay those dues, Everybody is really hard on you from a veteran standpoint. I remember as a young lawyer, I'm articling, I'm on Bay Street, and all these senior lawyers are so hard on me. I'm like, why are you being so difficult on me? I didn't do anything to you. You got to pay your dues. Everybody wants to see dues paid.
But there's a lot of aspects in life where those dues can be overcome with a little bit of cash, right? Your dues is just, you don't want to pay your dues, you pay your money. Yeah. It doesn't work like that in this world. Nobody wants your money, right? It's how hard are you going to train? Are you going to help the team? Are you going to be a great team member? And that's what these coaches are looking for. It's not, you can't just throw money like you can in other sports or other really industries. It's you earn your keep in this world.
So you show up when you show up. As you talked about, there's several hours between the time you show up at the facility till you actually go on.
Yeah, because you got to show up. You got to show up early so you can get your warm-ups in. You can get everything done so that by the time that the fans start coming in, you're backstage and you're just ready to go.
I guess you talk about your previous experiences in CrossFit and other arenas in Muay Thai. It's your day starts pretty early that day on the day of a show, right? Is there a lot of stuff going in the background, or not really? How does that work?
Well, I guess it really depends on the kind of person you are. I know for me, yeah, the day starts the night before. Right. At what time am I going to wake up? What am I going to eat? What time do I have to leave? Typically, when I do my training, it's around noon, maybe 1 p.m. So I'm very good at peaking to perform at 1 p.m. Very rarely do I go out and work out at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So that was the biggest learning curve for me, was how to stay full without being too full, so that, you know what I mean, you're not lethargic in there, you're still light on your feet, but you still have enough energy and calories to perform the way you need to. And through the CrossFit competitions, which are similar, right there, you show up at 9 in the morning, you're on and off until about 3, 4 in the afternoon. So you don't have time to go and run and have a big lunch. You got to be on the floor waiting for your next event. And while you're doing that, I've learned that the best fuel is easily digestible carbs, right? So I do, whether it's peanut butter and jam wraps or peanut butter and jam little sandwiches and fruits. That's kind of my stack. I'm not a big supplement guy. I don't have the pre, the post, the intro, not a big, I eat good food all the time, and I try to leave out the supplements as little as possible.
I can attest to that. I can tell you, you and I have been together for a long time. You've seen me through a lot of my own training, besides...
It took you a while to come to the natural side of things.
Besides, obviously in this wrestling world, as managing, and then as far as our friendship, you're my trainer as well. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was like cutting and trying to get to 7-8% body fat, and I was weighing myself every week, and I kept losing weight, and I kept looking so jacked. You kept rolling your eyes, and all I was doing was supplements. You're like, just eat normal food and just be strong. Don't worry about all that other crap. And when I let go of that stuff, and all I was working towards was
You're
hitting
also
numbers.
doing 12 workouts in 7 days, right?
This
now
is
we
true.
do 3 or 4. It's you give your body a chance to recover. You do yoga, right? You were all in and a little bit too hard, too fast. And what happened? You got hurt, right? That's what happens.
And where
the hard way.
Now when I look at it, also is overtraining and not training smart. And when I was more focused in my training, and I had goals to set, I saw myself getting ahead. And that's where you're not in wrestling 24/7. You're not doing this every single day. You have your schedules as far as when you train in wrestling. Those are focused training sessions.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of where I'm at, right? Is I built a career and a life and a whole world outside of wrestling, so that now I can do it purely out of the love and enjoyment of the sport. I'm not doing it for money. I'm not doing it for fame. I'm doing it for fun and to hurt people.
So let's talk about a name you brought up, Marcus Gold, correct? The guy with the golden shoes. I'm not understanding this, because I've been there. I watched you guys as training partners, and learning the ropes, and he was kind of mentoring. You were the newer guy, he's the more experienced guy. Correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't he the one that tossed you out in the Rumble?
Yeah. I don't know if I want to talk about Marcus Gold. That was a good friend of mine. He showed me how to wrestle, taught me a lot of good things. He was my best friend at wrestling. We trained together a lot of the time. And then the first chance he had to eliminate me, he did. Actually, if you look at the footage, I was able to skin the cat, come back in, and I super kicked him, and then he threw me out again. And he had the chance to save me, and he didn't. And he's going to regret that.
Marcus Gold is going to be feeling a lot of pain in his future, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He has some pain coming his way. Let's just say that. Well deserved, right? Because when you're someone's friend and they trust you, and then you have the chance to save them from being eliminated in a Rumble, and they purposely hip check you off, there's a price to pay for that.
There's 2 looks I saw of guys that were watching you and were in the ring with you. There was fear and there was awe.
Yeah.
I mean, the physical specimen you are, there's no denying it. You have the physique to go to the moon in this industry when you want to, when the industry is ready for you. but it's that awe factor because you know you belong. You know that you are ready to go, and they know it as well. So I think you're being very fair is not taking out everybody in one instance. We're going to get them one by one, and Marcus is next.
Yeah, people are already. I'm getting DMs. I'm getting little chirps on Instagram here and there, right? People who they know what's coming and they want a shot at me before it's too late.
And you know what? Also, it's fun to ride the coattails because every exposure you get by being in the ring with you, they think it's going to make them look better, but they're going to end up on their backs.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Everybody knows that they have zero chance of beating me the more experience I get. So let's face them now so we can get an easy win. There's no such thing as an easy win with Mason Rush.
Now, again, getting back to Hamilton and those fans, they are experienced. They know the wrestling. It's known as a wrestling town.
Oh, yeah.
They have a long, long history. When those experienced veterans that come to the cards week in, week out, month in, month out, I saw you getting those taps on the shoulder like, excuse me, sir, can we take some pictures with you?
Yeah, that was a new experience for me as well, was having fans, having people appreciate your work and want to take pictures with you so they could show their friends. I would say that's one of the ultimate compliments an athlete can get, right? Is I want to show that I met you to other people. And I can say that I've never had that in my life until that night.
Because I don't want to hurt the feelings of others, but not everybody was getting that kind of attention.
No.
There were guys sitting out there talking with their families afterwards, not a peep of somebody coming beside them. You come out, you're still, in your gear.
I came out just to see you guys, so thank you for coming to the show and to get a shot with you, a picture with you guys.
Yeah, we brought the crew out.
Yeah,
the whole crew, the production team out.
Yeah, we had the whole team.
Yeah.
And I also, it was because it was my first event, I didn't really promote it to my friends and family. I wanted to focus on doing a good job, and then we can go from there. But yeah, it was really cool to have people want to take pictures with me and meet me. That was awesome.
I gotta tell you, man, as your manager, I love you to pieces. There are times that you frustrate me to no end, and the thing that frustrates me the most is your humbleness, because you keep scaling it back. You're like, listen, man, there's a time and place for everything. Give it time, don't worry. And I'm like, dude, you're the now. Let's do it happen. But I'm respecting your wishes because you're the one that's put in that time. Your body's going through it. You're the one mentally committing to it. I trust you on your schedule, but I'm telling you, man, we're on the podcast.
Yeah.
We're putting you out there on social media. The world knows, and the world better get ready for Mason Rush 33, man, because we're conquering it. It's over.
Yeah, one event at a time. It's going to be a process, but when it's all said and done, I think we're going to do some awesome things.
So let me ask you, brother. I'm going to ask you a very, very difficult question, but might be very easy for you. When you started this process to where you are sitting today, to what you saw on TV as far as understanding what professional wrestling, what sports entertainment is, to what you see today, is wrestling what you expected it to be?
I think it's 100% what I expected it to be. I think because of the background and the work that I had put in athletics and strength and conditioning and everything in general leading up to me walking into my first session with Rip, I think all of that made the fact that I can do this, I don't want to say easily, but it comes a lot more naturally to me than other people I've seen and I've trained with, because they didn't spend all the prerequisite work to then, all you have to do, again, like I said, all you have to do is learn how to pro wrestle. I don't have to learn how to be strong, how to throw, how to use my body, how to, right, all these things that take years to learn if you're just starting in the wrestling ring. I already know how to do, right? So just show me how to do the art of what you're doing, which is extremely challenging. But because I don't have to worry about everything, I just have to worry about the art of pro wrestling. I know how to work out. I know how to do all the other all nutrition, all that stuff. I wouldn't say it's easier than I thought, because that wouldn't be accurate. But it was what I thought it would be. Yeah.
So sitting here now and having experienced it, putting the time in, continuing to, as you grow into your craft, when you get somebody on the street or at the gym or on social media that messages, whatever communication they send to you, and they're like, hey man, whatever bro, it's fake. What is your feeling now about the fakeness of pro wrestling?
I said after my first couple sessions, I said, you really don't appreciate this sport until you get in a ring and do it, right? And I mean, as a fighter, as a martial artist, you understand what contact feels like, but because you hear fake, you hear, right? You don't appreciate the bumps that you take, right? It's not getting punched in the face as often as it would be in a Muay Thai fight, or elbowed in the nose, but you have to be fast, you got to be strong, right? You got to be able to recover, which then plays into your diet, your sleep, right? It's so much more than what you do for those few minutes in the ring. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
When you describe it, like we'd be sitting in our training session on a Friday, you went to train with Rip on Thursday. What amazed me, to me, in my mind, it sounds like you're describing a chess match. You're describing how many moves ahead you have to think of, and there's a lot going there. And you could be talking to the other wrestler and kind of, but really at the end of the day, a lot of it's not scripted. You're kind of free flowing it, and you have to understand when one person does one move, it can lead to another move. You got to think 3 moves ahead all the time.
It's bodybuilding, acting, fighting. I'll say it again, right? You're not there to. You're not gonna get nearly as knocked out unconscious necessarily as you would in an MMA fight. But again, in an MMA fight, you're not taking power bombs off, the ropes. You're not taking superplexes, right? It's a lot more impact on the body than I expected. And then, I mean, the first thing I would say to anybody who says it's fake, it's stupid, I don't want to do it, is come try it.
And I would
That's
say
the first thing I would say is come spend an hour with me in the ring, and we'll see how you feel the next day.
And I was trying to describe to the crew, saying, look at that ring, look at how they're bouncing or not bouncing off of it. I said, a WWE ring is, let's say, a $5,000 Serta mattress. This ring that you're wrestling on is almost like the equivalent of like a sofa at the cottage, because it was less give. It's not so forgiving.
Even, again, before I got into a wrestling ring, you think you're everybody there on mattresses, right? It's padded, it doesn't hurt.
What?
I set up a ring, and it's plywood, it's gym mats, right? Like basic gymnastics mats, and it's canvas. That's all you're landing on. There's no mattress. There's no. It's a hard fall, and when those guys fall, it doesn't feel good. I promise you.
And as we're summing up today's episode, I got to give a shout out to the wrestling fans in general. I mean, to do the wrestling, to manage in wrestling, you not only got to be a part of it, you got to love it at the end of the day. And it's funny how much power the fans have, more than people realize. For example, as we're going into next week, we're talking about some of the current wrestlers and your thoughts on current wrestling. But you think that somebody's going to be a heel, somebody's going to be a face. Nah, the fans are going to decide for you. The way the fans decided that LA Knight ain't no heel for them, you ain't no heel for them either. Yeah, it's funny who they like.
You can think about it all day till you're blue in the face. Am I a heel? Am I a face? Am I a heel? I think I'm a heel. No, I think I'm a face. It's just like when you sell a business, right? If we're partners in a business, It means nothing till you sell the business, right? I could be 48, 50, it doesn't matter till you sell the business. And it's the same thing with this. It's the exact same thing.
The wrestling fans are going to decide for you at the end of the day.
You don't know what you are till you walk out and they tell you what you are, right? It's the same thing.
So this podcast, Professional Wrestling, is all about you, the fans. Send in your comments, send in your questions for Mason Rush. Reach him at Mason Rush 33. Let's hear from you. What do you want to know about wrestling? What do you think about his debut? We're really curious to hear about your thoughts, and we'll get you back for yet another week. We'll come back next week, and we're going to talk about Mason Rush and his thoughts on the current state of wrestling. See you all back real soon.